Peace, everyone. So, Grayson and Kennedy et al. Are at it again. Uh, just in, basically, hot off the press. I'll share the link in the description. But yeah, basically, through their lawyer, Mr. Solomon Simmons, they are proceeding forward with the federal lawsuit against the Muskogee Nation Citizenship Board and their employees and Principal Chief David Hill. Now, in the past, when they've sued the Citizenship Board, others who are allies of the Freedmen have stated that, oh, it's not the nation being sued, it's the department. Well, that's not true because Principal Chief Floyd, was also a defendant some years back on this very issue. So, no, they are suing individuals, not just the department. Okay. So, just to make that perfectly clear, they're saying we don't want to be treated like second-class citizens. We're not citizens of the tribe. You're not even second. You're not citizens at all. So how could you be a second-class citizen? I'm a second-class citizen. I'm not a full citizen. I'm less than a quarter. Therefore, I am a citizen by blood. I'm not a full citizen. If I was, my mom, I could definitely run for office. She's a full citizen. I am not. That's the way it is. So no, I'm a second-class citizen. Grayson Kennedy and Solomon Simmons et al. Are not even citizens. So there is no, we're being treated like second-class citizens in the nation that we're born into. Okay? Like, we just want to come home, they say. They, in this case, and also the quote about second-class citizen, I believe that's, and again, correct me, I'll share the link in the description to the article that I'm reading, but it's Rhonda Grayson making these statements. Now, Mr. Simmons, Solomon Simmons, does state, and I'm somewhat paraphrasing, that he wants Principal Chief David Hill to obey the 1866 Creek Treaty and the decision of the Muskogee Creek Nation Supreme Court, and as well as the laws of the Muskogee Nation. Now, I'm sorry, that last one, no. The laws of Muskogee Nation are the 1979 Constitution. Sorry. That's the laws of the Muskogee Nation. Okay, so, and what does it say about citizenship? By blood. That's what it says. So, again, you're not a citizen if you're not a citizen by blood. That is the current law of the land in the Muskogee Nation. So, that's the law. And the same Constitution that says that is also the Constitution that grants the power to the Supreme Court. But here's the thing. As I've stated before, Principal Chief David Hill is our current Principal Chief. He is voted in by the people, as are the National Council members. Supreme Court justices are not voted in by the people. They're appointed by the chief. And the Citizenship Board, as I recall, the Citizenship Board is also appointed by the Principal Chief. Now, Principal Chief, his office, and the National Council members have to swear the oath of office. And that oath of office means to uphold the Muskogee Nation Constitution of 1979. Okay? The Supreme Court justices are not required to swear the oath, but they do, which means they did, and they violated that oath with their opinion, decision, etc., on the Grayson Kennedy case, which they also closed the case recently. And that's why this is being kind of reopened, so to speak, as a federal case. Now, Muskogee Nation, thus far, has not yet received the notification from Grayson Kennedy at all. So they are not able to make a statement at the present time regarding the contents thereof. They're waiting to receive it, and they're going to then figure out what they're going to say at that point. And so that's the thing. But this whole thing about we just want to feel like we belong to our nation, we want to come home. They live in Oklahoma, for crying out loud. No, I want to go home sometimes, okay? Like, I'm a citizen of the nation, okay? There's a bunch of us who like to go home and visit, but have to make our money elsewhere, okay? So, but this whole, like, we just want to feel like we're a part of the nation that we're born into, that type of narrative. Well, let me share something with you guys that I meant to share with you by about 2 months ago. I mentioned I was going to bring this up. So let's just say a source very close to the principal chief, I'm not going to say who, told me about what happened in the courtroom back in, it was, I believe, middle September of 2024. This is when I think it's the 11th District Court, it could be the 10th, it's in Georgia. And, but I made a video, I mentioned that, the dates are all there, the links are there to the Justice for Greenwood, which is Mr. Solomon Simmons, apparently he runs that, and, of course, it shows Grayson Kennedy and himself with some other gentlemen that are clearly there to obstruct the whole Muskogee Nation and Hickory Ground versus Porch Bandit Creek Indians in regards to the desecration of Ojibwa burial ground, okay, which has the Wind Creek Casino built on top of it, and Auburn University has these bodies sitting in some type of containers in the university. So that's a separate issue than the Freedmen issue. But they wanted to sit there and do their protest and show how hypocritical Muskogee Nation is against them. What the source told me, because that's the public information you can see. I mean, my opinion is that they're there to obstruct. It's obvious that was the purpose. It's obvious. Anyone watching it, it's obvious that's what was going on there, okay? What I found out through my source, who was in the courtroom, because I was asking, there's a discussion, online discussion happening about this, and I had to question whether Miko George Thompson, whether or not he might have made his decision because of pressure from that day. Someone was saying, oh, there's no proof that this even happened. I'm like, here it is. Well, that doesn't prove anything. Okay, which is obviously, the link to the Justice for Greenwood video. Well, that is certainly evidence, if nothing else. Strong evidence of what I'm saying. Now, if my witness is telling the truth, my source is telling the truth, and I very much believe they are. I think these individuals would find this person to be a credible source. Basically, when the Hickory Ground people and our chief and their lawyer on one side of the courtroom, you have Porch Bandit Creek Indians and the Freedmen attorney. Now, my source didn't say what the name of the attorney was. I mean, I don't know if it was Mr. Solomon Simmons or the other person that was with them. I'm not sure which attorney in question. I don't know the name. The name was not given to me. But I was told the Freedmen lawyer was laughing and having a good time with the Porch Band lawyer, and that basically was given the opportunity to speak. And it turned from like a Hickory Ground versus Porch Band to the Freedmen versus Muskogee Nation. And I'm kind of like baffled that this would even happen, but apparently it did. And I believe my source. I definitely believe my source. Okay. And I was already under the impression that their presence that day was deliberately to obstruct the efforts of Muskogee Nation until they were to give the Freedmen citizenship. Well, if we can't have citizenship, you can't have your burial grounds back. That's kind of the impression that I have. I could be wrong. If any person in question wants to say, "Oh, that's not why we were there," I'm still not going to believe you. But say what you got to say, okay? But I believe my source to be credible, and I was already under that impression anyway because it's obvious given the timing. And this whole situation almost got memory hold, by the way. I had a hard time, like I said before, on this issue. I had a hard time finding this info. It wasn't like a simple Google search pulled it up. I'm pretty sure there was other articles at the time that mentioned this that are no longer active. So it was rough trying to find this, but I did. And I found, a witness that gave me this other info. And that just makes me have to ask the question, like, if you're willing to obstruct one set of justice because you want to get what you think is your justice, if you really cared about hickory ground, as some freedmen have said in the past, oh, our ancestors were there too, yada, yada, yada. Okay, that's great. If you cared about that, why were Grayson and Kennedy, etc., they're obstructing this? Because it's obvious that that's what was going on. It's obvious. Just look at the Justice for Greenwood video in the link in the description of that. It seems pretty apparent why they were there. So that coupled with the other info I have, and here's the thing, this source I have, and a friend of mine, and myself, are all in agreement. If Grayson and Kennedy and Mr. Simmons and the other guy that was there, again, I'm sorry I don't remember the name of that other person, but if they were there in solidarity saying, look, we still think you need to give us citizenship, but we stand with you because what happened here is unjust. And if they were to say, oh, we've got hickory ground ancestors too, and so we care about this issue personally, right? If that was the attitude, my opinion on the Freedmen might have shifted more. I might have been like, oh, holy crap, man. Like, yeah, I believe in by-blood citizenship, but holy crap, these people actually are in it, not just for, money or benefits or college or whatever other, stuff. Maybe they actually do give a crap about, what they consider to be their mutual Muskogee heritage. Honestly, like, that might have shifted my opinion to a certain degree, I'm not sure how much, but it would have shifted it a little bit, at least, in their favor. But, no, they had to be there to obstruct it. It's pretty clear that's what was going on. And if that's the case, then I'm sorry. Like, I can't really I don't think I ever want to see them become citizens at this point. Even if they do have by-blood ancestry. Of course, I stand by this. If you got by-blood ancestry, even if your ancestors were mislabeled as freedmen, you should be able to join the tribe. I think there should be a vehicle within our Constitution to allow that. There's a very strict adherence to the Final Dawes Rule, for which the Campbell Creek Rule is the basis of. So yeah, technically, even if they had some by-blood ancestry that way, yeah, they should technically be able to become citizens. I still stand by that, but I don't really want them to be citizens. Not when they're pulling crap like that. If let's put it this way. If the porch band, let's say I got what I wanted, and others got what they wanted in the same way, where the porch band were to be dissolved, and Muskogee Nation were to gain all those lands, and were to destroy that, carefully, legally, of course, destroy the casino, level to the ground, and restore the ground back to its natural beauty, rebury those same, bodies back in the original grave sites, because we know where the site was. We know where each skeleton was taken from, as I understand it. If all this were to be done, and let's say the Porch Bannock Creek Indians, let's say there's a stipulation where, okay, they get dissolved, but anyone proving Creek ancestry were, obviously the blood quantum is going to get readjusted because they're claiming they have full bloods and half bloods and quarter bloods. So you and I know that that's not the case. Their blood quantum is much smaller. At least their Creek blood quantum is smaller. They have Catawba. Some of them are Catawba, not Creek. But for those that are Creek, if they were to be able to prove it and be able to acquire Muskogee Nation Oklahoma citizenship, and let's say that was a stipulation, the people that did the desecration, I still would not want them to be citizens, even if they had a higher blood quantum, a higher legit blood quantum. I would still not want them to be citizens. But at that point, if that stipulation were to happen and we regain that, I would stand by them becoming citizens. Now, their name would be shamed forever, but they can still be citizens, right? If some of these freedmen, plaintiffs have any actual by blood ancestry, I would stand by them becoming citizens by blood, and not because of the 1866 treaty. But I still don't want them to be citizens because of what they're doing to obstruct the whole justice for Hickory Ground. And I'm saying this acknowledging that Miko George Thompson, acting as Supreme Court Justice George Thompson Jr., he violated the Constitution. He violated the Muskogee Nation Constitution. He didn't do it alone, though. He did it along with 4 others. So it's not strictly his decision. I'm not sure how much he had a sway in this decision. I don't know. I wasn't there behind closed doors when this decision was being made, and when 2 justices had backed out and abstained from voting. So I don't know who had a stronger word in making that decision. Maybe it was him. Maybe he was just one of 5 voices who all sort of came to the same conclusion. I don't know. But he's one of 5. He's not the only one. Regardless of if his voice was the strongest, it doesn't matter. They all put their name on that. So they all are guilty. So that's it. So yeah, I mean, regardless of his ceremonial status and his past decades of service to the nation, I mean, this is a bigger issue. Like, there could be potentially more freedmen citizens joining the tribe than by blood citizens. And this is a real issue that we really have to consider. I mean, how many of these freedmen descendants have any traceable by blood ancestry? That's the thing. And I know that our principal chief is going to go talk to people about that and get some opinions from people, right? But yeah, I mean, I don't think this decision on the Supreme Court's part was actually correct at all. And it also wasn't constitutional. They don't have the authority to de facto amend the Constitution. The Constitution, they get their power and authority from by appointment from the principal chief, who's elected as laid out in the Constitution. So yeah, you can't override the very document that gives you power and authority. You'd have to amend it, and then that changes the power and authority. Yeah, that's how it works. Anyone with any legal, acumen knows this. Okay, so there's, I think, a lot of narrative going out that's still being pushed, and it's incorrect, and it's obviously incorrect. If you look at the Constitution, you know that this is incorrect. So you can say that the Treaty of 1866 is the supreme law of the land. That's debatable. I mean, our Constitution got ratified in 1979, and it seems like the Department of Interior accepted it. It seems like the BIA accepted it. I mean, it seems like that's now the law. It's recognized. So it is what it is. So to say, oh, that's illegal, that's unconstitutional. Well, it is constitutional, actually. It actually is constitutional. That's the thing. So my question to be to the rest of y'all who are watching this, I know I've got some enemies that are Freedmen descendants who don't like me and send me nasty messages and call me a racist and all this other, untrue stuff. My question is to the by blood citizens. If people are obstructing actual justice for our people because they as non-Indians want to get citizenship, again, presuming that there's no traceable by blood ancestry, okay, as I always lay out on this issue. If they are truly non-Indians, non-natives, do you really want them becoming citizens if they're going to obstruct real justice for the tribe? Because I don't. I personally don't. I don't think that's a fair thing for us. I don't think it's a fair thing for our posterity for them to get what they want at the expense of our descendants. Okay, that's how I feel about that, and at the cost of our sacred sites. Okay, I think that's unjust. So I believe my source, and common sense already dictated that something along those lines was happening. Why else were they there saying what they were saying that day in particular? So anyway, so now the federal course is going to go forward. Muskogee Nation did state that, I think the article says the federal government leaves up to Muskogee Nation. And if that's the case, then what leg do they have to stand on? And also, if you bring up the Rogers test, I mean, that's the other issue. The Rogers test is a legal test. If you don't pass it, you're not an Indian. Now, I know there's a lot of different stuff happening with Cherokee Nation. I get that. But, I mean, if Muskogee Nation stands its ground and wins, and Cherokee Nation were to decide to revoke its Freedmen citizenship based upon sovereignty, I mean, who knows? That's the thing. But, yeah. The Rogers test, you have to have actual Amerindian ancestry. And in this case, it would be Amerindian ancestry back to the Muskogee Creek Nation in particular. Do you have any actual Amerindians that were, citizens of Muskogee Nation in your ancestry? So if you don't, then you fail the Rogers test. You're not an Indian, and therefore you are not entitled to that status. You're not entitled to Muskogee Nation citizenship by, any metric at this point. So unless we say so, according to the laws of said nation, like it says in the 1866 treaty, right? Just saying, don't shoot the messenger. It's right there. Go take a look at it. So, and people will try to interpret it different ways, okay? But this verbiage is in there, and it could be interpreted this way quite easily, And again, this whole kumbaya that, we were a part of the nation and everything was great. Well, I'm sorry. The I believe it was the Dunn Roll, 1868, I believe. I got to double check that, but there's a roll late 1860s that was made specifically as payments for the freedmen because the actual by blood citizens didn't want to give their resources back then to non-natives. Think about that. Okay, it wasn't this sacred, glorious, our covenant with the Creator. The ancestors did this, and no, that's purely fictional narrative created in 2025, 2026. That's AI, TikTok style BS. That's what's going on. So anyhow, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you think. Let me know where you think this is going to go. I mean, I know there's a whole Ron Graham was going to do a federal case. I know that's all sort of tied into it, sort of, maybe. I'm not sure if it's directly tied into this particular, filing, but I don't think it is. But yeah, that's a possible case that can go on as well. But I mean, depending on where things go with the Freedmen case, Ron Graham may or may not proceed with his case. So I don't know what's going to happen in that regard. I mean, Mr. Ron Graham is probably hoping that the Freedmen Grayson Kennedy case wins, and then that way he can just become a Freedmen citizen or whatever. You know, he can become a citizen regardless of any blood quantum, and then all is right in their world, and all is always going to be right in their world. Is the way they kind of seem to feel about this, and they want their children inheriting citizenship, not a fight to get citizenship. So there's a simple solution to that, by the way. Start marrying back into the tribe. And maybe this will be my last thing on the video. We did adopt people into the tribe. It is true. We did do that in the past. Back in the old Creek Confederacy, we adopted entire villages. That's how the Yuchi became part of our tribe. But here's the thing, though. Well, it's not entirely how. You see, you had Yuchi men that also married Muskogee women and started villages, which means that the children were automatically Creek by blood from day one. The Natchez, they instantly married into the Arbika people. So the Natchez that would have remained, they would have been also part Arbika, Muskogee. So we intermarried with people for a long time. But whatever blood they brought in already mixed with us. Was this the case of the Freedmen? To some small degree, apparently, for some, but not for all. So, you want to fix the problem, marry a by-blood citizen and have children with them. That way your children's struggle is not going to be the struggle of fighting in court to remain maybe forever black, but also Creek by citizenship. Just marry into the tribe, have children. Your descendants can be Creek by blood. They can look as black as night. That's fine, but they can be Creek by blood. Problem solved. No more fight. That's how you fix the problem. Okay, that's really how you fix the problem. Because people were intermarrying right away, and yeah, whites that came into the tribe, and some blacks as well early on, whether free or not, were intermixing. This is part of the discussion on the Parson Abbott roll. Like that, I mean, this is part of the notes and letters back and forth before that roll was completely like published. So like, how do we classify these people and then these people? You know, if a woman's married to a slave, is she the head of the household? Things like that. Like these are all questions they brought up. And or if she's married to a free man, but he's like a non-Indian, or you know, whatever, right? That type of stuff was brought up. So intermixing occurred, but the descendants were now Indians by blood. Like Hodolamiko, Silas Jefferson, he was not a freedman, even though he was half black. His mother was Indian. Okay, I mean, just, you know, just saying, guys. So intermarry, and then no one can say that you're not Indian by blood. Like your children and their struggle. Well, their struggle is not going to be whether or not they're citizens. It'll be whether, you know, maybe full bloods accept them as Indians when they're obviously mixed blooded. You know, because that whole paradigm is still going to be around for a while. I think the whole, like, do you look native enough, or are you mixed blood? Like, I'm getting attacked being told that I look like a white guy with long hair. Okay, I'm being told this. Okay, like I said, my mom is a full citizen. I am not. I am a citizen by blood. So, but I'm being told this because I have enough non-native blood that it shows. It obviously shows I'm not a full blood. Look at me, you know. But that's going to be the struggle. But here's the thing: it's really not the full bloods attacking me. It's the Freedmen descendants attacking me. Not all of them, but the ones that are attacking me, they're Freedmen descendants that don't like me because I'm contradicting their narrative and because I have lighter skin tone. They're telling me to shut up. They're saying that all the white mixed Creeks need to shut up, and usually they do. And it's like, come on, dude. So yeah, you can hate me because of my skin color. It's not the full bloods doing this. But will there be people that are like, oh no, I'm a real Creek because I'm full blood? Yeah, you have people like that. And you're going to still have some people like that. As long as there's people that are 4/4 on the, on the rolls, that's going to still happen. But the struggle's not going to be for citizenship at that point. Now, do I see a different struggle happening, potentially? The struggle of, oh, you got to be at least a quarter or more to even be a citizen. Do I see that potentially happening? I don't want to say yes, but I want to say maybe potentially, because some people talk about how, because you got greedy people who want to get a per capita, and they're willing to cut other people out and cut off the services to other people, because that way there's more funds for them, they think, to just bring home a bunch of cash, all that casino money, right? So you're going to have people, because I've seen people online chat about this, oh, anyone less than a quarter should be disenrolled, okay? Good for you, sweetheart. If you do that, you're going to lose more than half the tribe overnight, and federal funding, infrastructure, it's going to start to fall apart. So don't do that. Don't push for that, please. You're not going to do yourself any favors. So yeah, let me get all that casino money so I can then go back to the casino and blow that money, right? Because that's going to happen with these people who are saying this stuff, right? Oh, I had all that money. I blew the casino. So yeah, that's what's going to happen with these people if that ever occurred. So hopefully it never will. So the struggle, again, for mixed bloods who are, again, freedmen, married by blood citizens, have children, and then problem solved. You just got to worry about, are you looked upon socially as being as Muskogee? But you know what? You got people that are mixed bloods like myself who might deal with some of that as well. Okay, like I may not be black and Indian, I'm white and Indian, but there's people that might look at me as not Indian enough. Okay, and I don't care. I don't care, because I am, and I know it. And your children will be too if you marry by blood citizens. So go do that and fix the problem. Problem solved. No more fight. Your descendants will finally be born into their nation, and you know what I'm saying? And then if they want to say they're second-class citizens like I am, then they can legitimately say that. And that's it. But for watching, and Hadam Chicha, please.